Political correctness has become a straitjacket. Gary Oldman. As I mentioned before, I really don't like politics. I believe it's a toxic system, and those with good intentions get into politics and find it a real struggle to do positive good. And a lot of times, a lot of what is right is somewhere in the middle, or it's found in both sides. I don't do the left right. You know, I just try to choose what is correct in terms of my own assessment of things, right? So, when it comes to political correctness, I think it's really important that people take into consideration the feelings of others and that one tries to operate from a position of mutual respect, offering it first, hoping to receive that mutual respect back. But having said that, I think that it's important that people have the opportunity to freely speak and as artists to freely create. There's nothing worse than a comedian wearing a straitjacket because they are not able to freely create and entertain. It's a bit of a balancing act. I know when I used to do stand-up comedy, I I was doing all my own material, and very few other comedians were doing their own material. They were taking from TV shows and other comedians, but I was creating a lot of my own stuff, and there was a few others that were doing that too. And it was really neat because I was performing one night at Yuck Yuck's amateur night, and the headliner, he used to tour with Rodney Dangerfield, and anyway, I went over to the bar and he gave me a thumbs up and you know gave me some positive validation for my comedic talent and the jokes that I wrote. And yeah, actually the jokes were kind of harsh back then. It was before I got into recovery. My jokes were kind of harsh. They were really funny, but really harsh. And then as I began to recover more, I started to soften. My comedy started to soften, and it wasn't so harsh. Um, but it was still funny. But anyway, I digress. But I remember I was at a comedy club one night with other comedians, and there was one comedian, and he was telling some jokes to other comedians, and some of it was homophobic, and I was really hurt by it. I was so hurt that I got up and walked out. I was either going to walk out or I was going to address this person. And I left. And you know what? I think I was maybe a little bit too sensitive. Um, yeah, because it depends on. I mean, there. You know, I think a good rule of thumb is how important is it? Asking myself how important is it? If it's a 7 out of 10 on the Richter scale of toxicity, then yeah, then I need to address that or take that on, or maybe 8 out of 10 or something like that. But there needs to be a lot of room for people to be able to freely speak and share what's on their mind or through their art. You know, we need to give people a lot of room. Um, but also too, I think it's important to communicate with people, to speak to them, and let them know if there's an issue, if there's a problem, so that they can have an opportunity to make correction or consider the idea. You know, so I missed out on a chance that night at the comedy club to speak to this person or to figure it out for myself first. If how important is this in terms of toxicity, and then to approach this person possibly and just let them know, where I'm coming from, type of thing. Yeah, I mean, Yeah. I mean, I'm capable of creating stuff that could counter some of the stuff that he was saying. I can't even remember stuff he was saying, but I could create stuff to counter that for sure. You know, but does one want to get into a insane arms race comedically? Right? Does one want to do that? You know, I mean, I have the capability to do that. I do, but I really think all over the world and just one on one with people, people need to or could consider, and I strongly suggest, who could consider um, coming from a spirit of mutual respect and goodwill, and giving people some wiggle room to be able to be imperfect or to express their art. You know, because I've heard like with comedians, I've heard a lot of comedians they can't do or they won't do college campuses anymore because everybody's so sensitive. And you know what? We have to lighten up. We have to get tougher. A lot of us we've been through so much. Where did our toughness go? We've been through so much. Come on, like we can be tougher. And to me, it's a matter of degree. And then when it reaches a particular level, then it's a time to communicate, to speak with, and say, "Look, I need to speak to you about something," right? And approach that person and give them the opportunity to consider the ideas and to possibly make change, correction, right? Anyway, that's just me rambling. I don't know if I'm making any sense or not, but um, yeah. But I do know that there's a lot of diversity in humanity, a lot of interesting characters in the world. Um, am I one? Maybe. Oh, guys. Yeah. Anyway, I'm doing my best. And, I have mixed feelings about fame. I have mixed feelings about, becoming more in the spotlight. I do. I have mixed feelings about that. But I do want to contribute to the world, and I do want to share my story. Um, it's complicated, guys. Okay, but I do want to because I know that it could be helpful, right? So I wish everyone, and I mean everyone, a good 24 hours out there, and we'll talk soon.